Welcome back to another season of the Intellectual Soul Food Lunch Buffet. I'm your new host, Tamia Jacobs, and it's my pleasure to join you and bring a new perspective on the nuanced conversations of the modern world. As with other seasons, we're going to be discussing issues that affect the world overall. Today's topic surrounds mental health and wellness, specifically whether or not the modern counseling system is effective. Joining us in studio will be a licensed counselor at Alabama State University, members of the staff, a representative of the National Association of Mental Illness, as well as a student psychology perspective. Field reporter Kendall Mans has more on the story.
Different people from all walks of life attend universities to better themselves, their families, and most importantly, their future. While on their respective college campuses, they can face many different challenges, balancing a social life, getting good grades, and finding their own paths. One of the biggest challenges they face is their mental health and wellness. The question is, how do you describe mental health?
To me, mental health is a general state of being whole and of being one. To me, mental health is really, really important because without being whole and without being in line and just making sure you can keep all of your emotions at bay even when you're not okay, it's really an issue and it's a problem.
How well you tend to yourself mentally, because we can heal from our scars physically, but the mental ones, they kind of stay. So I feel like that's really kind of like the spectrum I put it in.
A recent study was done by the National Education Association where more than 90,000 students across 133 U.S. campuses participated in a survey. According to the findings, 44% of students reported symptoms of depression, 37% said they'd experienced anxiety, and 15% said they were considering suicide, the highest rate in the 15-year history of the survey.
Mental health affects everyone differently. This includes race, gender, and culture.
I feel like black men are not able to express their feelings and emotions. They are there to be a rock, stone cold actually, and to the point that when we get into relationships or any type of relationship, friendships too, we don't express ourselves.
Sometimes I don't feel very welcomed in a lot of places, but that just comes with being with who I am. But it's about how you go about moving and how you go about letting that affect you. It can either affect you positively, or you can just let it roll off your shoulders and let it go through one ear and out the other.
As a whole in the black community, I don't feel like it's taken serious enough, because a lot of people, I can handle it on my own, or I don't need help, I don't need therapy, none of that. But sometimes you actually do need help. You can't do it on your own. But with us, since we're so used to trying to be independent, or feel like if somebody's helping us, that's charity, or they're pitying us or belittling us, we don't ever ask for help or receive it or accept it when somebody's giving it to us.
I got the opportunity to talk to Alice Farricker, the president of Montgomery's National Association of Mental Illness, about her personal experience with mental health and how students can tend to their own.
I never thought I would be here talking about mental health, but I lost my 15-year-old daughter to suicide about 6 years ago. And she was dealing with what I thought was just situational, normal teenage angst. Apparently it wasn't. Mm-hmm. And so the best way to fight it is just to talk about it. We need to talk about it in our everyday life like it's normal, which it is. It's just like any other. Our brain is another organ in our body that needs to be treated. And just like when we have a stomach ache, we would go to the doctor. When we're having weird thoughts and things like that, we still need to seek out help. People are so afraid to seek help. But if you start looking around, you'll realize that a lot of people are in the same situation and are going to get help, but they're just not telling people.
With everyone having their own degrees of mental health, wellness, and illness, it can be tough to figure it all out. People handle it in their own ways.
Me personally, I like to stretch and do breathing exercises because I know I'm a dancer, so physical things do affect my mood. So I'll sit down, listen to like smooth jazz music like a little old lady, and I'll breathe and relax, maybe hit a yoga pose or two, or just if my body feels okay, usually I feel okay. So I also, if I'm sad or something, I'll go buy myself like a smoothie or a milkshake or just something that like gives me serotonin, even if it's candy or food, just so I can feel okay.
It can be like family, school, things like that. When something is not going right or it looks like it's never going to get better, that can really trigger it for me.
Right after this, I'll be joined by ASU counseling coordinators Marion Brock, Tony Cleveland, and Senior Director of Healthcare Services, Dr. Joyce Lloyd Davis. Stay tuned for your share of the Intellectual Soul Food Lunch Buffet.
Hey Hornet Nation, have you heard the buzz? There's a fun run coming to the campus of Alabama State University. Join us September 9th for the Buzz Run 5K. Sign up for the Buzz Run today. Everyone gets a medal.
And kids can have fun too. Join us at Singers Fun Run.
This 5K benefits ASU Track and Field and ASU Department of Aerospace Studies. For more information and to register, go to www.alasu.edu/buzzrun.
And now for the main course. Today we are talking about mental health and the traditional counseling model. According to the National Education Association, 35% of students dealt with depression, 45% of students dealt with anxiety, and 15% have dealt with suicide. Today, we are joined by ASU counseling coordinators Marion Brock and Tanya Cleveland, as well as the Health Service Director, Dr. Joyce Lloyd Davis. Thank you all for joining us today. So, Mr. Brock, I wanted to start with you.
Sure.
So talk to us about the modern mental health counseling system. Tell us about what it is and why you think it is effective.
Well, the modern mental health counseling system is a means, is a way to actually be able to probe into a client's emotional state of health. I remind our interns as well as others that there's two different phases of counseling or two different phases of mental health intervention. And one is actually the actual counselor, and the other one is the actual therapist. Mm-hmm. And I liken the counselor with the emergency room triage nurse, where they probe to see what is wrong with you, ask questions that are related to your emotional health or physical health, and they stage you to see a therapist who's the one who actually put together the treatment plan. So what we do is we remind our clients that if they're not feeling well, come see us. There's nothing wrong with actually getting the help that you need. Absolutely. In fact, it's the intelligent thing to do.
Absolutely. So talking about getting the help that you need, Dr. Lloyd Davis, I wanted to talk to you. So in the Black community, we spoke about in the package, there's a lot of cultural stigmas around mental health and actually discussing that. So can you talk about, with all these new conversations that we're having, do you feel like we've made progress, or do you feel like there's a lot of work still to do?
So to answer that question, I feel both ways. I do feel like we have made tremendous strides in the right direction to destigmatize those things that have negative connotations around seeking mental health and understanding the importance of your mental well-being in general and your self-care. Great strides, I think, that we have made in that direction. However, there is a lot of work to be done, and a lot of that work is centered around mental health literacy. People don't understand what it means to be in a good mental health well-being state and what that does for your body, what it does for your productivity, what it does for you as an individual. So I think that there's a huge education piece that needs to occur so that we do have a better understanding and we can equip our young people how to better deal with issues that are going to be a part of their life. It's for.
Absolutely. So, Ms. Cleveland, I want to talk to you. Dr. Davis just brought up some young people and their issues that they have. So, in your professional experience, can you talk about what mental health issues you encounter mostly on college campuses as a whole?
I was reading you guys statistics earlier. Depression has increased, anxiety and suicide. Just according to ADPH, suicides exceeds homicides here in the state of Alabama. So a lot of it has to do with the pandemic, but it also has to do with the Black community, where we're not talking about those issues that we have at home. We're saying what goes on in my house stays in my house. So that's leaving that person to suppress all those emotions that they're encountering at that time, instead of going to a therapist to talk to, like Mr. Brock was mentioning, or just sit in their room, or they're talking to their peers who don't have any experience with mental health. Right.
Okay. Very important. And Mr. Brock, I want to come back to you, but I want to read the statistic to you. According to managed healthcare experts, only 60% of psychiatrists accept commercial plans, and only 35% accept Medicaid plans. So I want to know, what advice do you have for those students that may be facing financial insecurity and may not feel like they have the means to seek a therapist?
To ask the question, and know who and where to go to have those questions answered. And it's very important, with the Affordable Health Care Act, the Obamacare, as they would call it, afforded many of the citizens an opportunity to get the insurance to be able to utilize when it comes to, the health aspect. We do have I would say someone who's, I wouldn't say retainer, but it's an agency that we work with called CareStar. Okay. And CareStar provides, the care free of charge. And at the worst, they may do a means testing. But with our students, it's accessible. So we usually refer our students there, especially those who are concerned about being able to afford it.
Absolutely. CareStar, very important to remember. And Dr. Davis, I want to come back to you. So we spoke a little bit about the She Care pods in the package, but we want to know, is there a connection between masculinity and mental health? Is there a need for a He Care pod on a campus like ASU? What do you think?
So I absolutely think there is the need for a He Care pod as well. Our female students, let me just go ahead and say, have a wonderful opportunity to capitalize on the availability of a free service that has been extended to them to have the care of a professional licensed counselor at the She Care pod with individual therapy, as well as the group modalities that are offered. If we had that same type of setup for the male students on campus, I think it would offer some benefit to them.
Absolutely.
Now, with anything such as this new model catching on, there's an education curve where you have to educate students about the benefits. You have to educate students about how that fits into their world. But I absolutely think it's something that should be addressed with male students as well, because they suffer in silence often, and they need an outlet as well.
Absolutely. Ms. Cleveland, we want to know about self-medication. A lot of times students go to that as a means of dealing with their mental health issues that may be undiagnosed or otherwise. So can you talk about what are some healthier ways of coping instead of reaching for drugs and alcohol as a way to cope?
So interventions that we use for individuals who have a core mobility, we tell them to exercise. You get those same dopamines that you get if you're smoking a blunt, or if you're hanging around a friend. It's still going to explode the same way. Use your cell phone. They have those red, those green and yellow noises that you can listen to. Talk to your peers to offer you some support, because that support system goes a very long way when you're dealing with mental health issues. And most important, reach out to your counseling center. It's free. I mean, you can come as many times as you like, opposed to other universities where you have to pay a fee at some point. But here at Alabama State, it's totally free. You come as many times as you like. You talk about whatever you want to. You got 4 professionals, counselors on hand.
Absolutely. So, Mr. Brock, I want you to speak specifically to those programs and tools that are available. I know we covered a little bit about CareStar and, of course, our ASU counselors. So can you talk a little bit more about what programs are available for ASU students?
Oh, absolutely. We have our alcohol intervention program. We have our anger management program, which we deem as conflict resolution program. Grief counseling. We have group counseling. Commuter student programs, where those students who live off campus, if they have a need for off-campus services, we have the resources to refer them there as well. Absolutely. We have the crisis counseling, crisis intervention program, where although we're off after 5 o'clock, really within our profession there's no such thing as 8 to 5. we're on duty 24 hours a day. But we have an added feature where we do have crisis counselors on call as well as us, because we realize that students' problems or issues or challenges don't just happen between the hours of 8 to 5.
That's so true.
We do a lot of programming. Are You Good Day, which is geared towards suicidal ideations. We're reminding the students that it's okay not to be okay, as well as our faculty and staff. We involved the community. I know President Ross had talked about community-versity, the community-versity concept, and we believe in involving the community because we do need a resource, in the event the students deem so. It's more important to be prepared, in the event that happens. So we form relationships, we establish relationships over the years. And, we have a healthy relationship with our faculty and staff, too, because it's going to take all of us.
Absolutely.
We encourage our faculty and staff, if they see something, say something. We've put on programs to pretty much better educate them, to prepare them to be able to engage the students or to be good witness or note takers. So if they see something, that deems, their attention, they'll know how to go about it. We have a referral program where they can easily make those referrals as needed.
Absolutely. Well, I want to thank you all so much for being here with us today. And remember, if you see something, say something. Very important to get connected with our ASU counselors as well as Dr. Joyce Lloyd Davis. So next up, we have Officer Todd from the ASU Police Department, Senior Psychology Major Olivia Carter, and a representative from the Montgomery County NAMI organization right after this.
Alabama State University, we're focused on student success. Choose from 63 undergraduate and graduate degree programs from a university that has provided educational excellence for more than 150 years. From research to robotics, education to economics, theater to technology, we have the degree to fit your future. Choose the tradition. Choose the promise. Choose Alabama State University.
Hope we didn't keep you waiting too long because we are back with the second serving. Joining us in studio is NAMI Representative Alice Farraker, Lieutenant Kimberly Todd from the ASU Police Department, and Student Psychology Major Olivia Carter. According to a study done by Michigan Public Health, 54% of students reported no drinking for the past 2 weeks. However, we know that in college, many students fall victim to self-medication with drugs and alcohol. Ms. Farraker, we want to know, with the opioid crisis growing every day, how urgent of an issue is this, and should HBCUs be concerned?
It's very urgent. Kids are picking it up more and more, and it adds to the mental health crisis that we're going through right now.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Lieutenant Todd, I'm interested. I know that working in law enforcement, it can be physically demanding, but also mentally demanding as well. So I want to know, what does that work-life balance kind of look like for you on a daily basis?
Well, for me, I get up typically, say my prayers. I've been mentally trained to try to leave work at work and home at home.
That's a good philosophy to have, actually.
Yeah.
I want you both to speak to the point that, is there a difference, I want to know, in the way that mental health is discussed at a HBCU versus a PWI? What do you guys think about that? And should it be treated differently, do you think?
Okay, I definitely think it is discussed differently, one, because we are affected differently than PWIs when it comes to race. I think it's something that isn't as talked about in the Black community, and it should be, of course, but we all have our thoughts about mental health, and I think predominantly white schools, I don't know if they're necessarily more accepting of it, but it's definitely more talked about than what it is because of our cultural difference.
Okay, what about in your professional experience?
Right, I agree as well. From my personal experience, when I used to associate with different law enforcement at the PWI versus the HBCUs, they had more resources than the HBCU did, and they had more funding. Now it's getting better because mental health doesn't have a race nor a sex on it. So it's good that we are coming together and treating it the same, whether they are HBCU or PWI.
That's actually a great segue into my next question. I wanted to know, do you guys think that there's a link between gender sexuality and mental health? Because we had somebody in the package who spoke to that and talked about how their sexuality kind of affected that. So what do you guys think about that?
Okay, me personally, since I am a lesbian, I think it really does affect your mental health because of how, especially as a Black queer person, growing up, it's not something that you're taught about. It's not something that is talked about in the Black community, and if anything, it's shamed. So I think it definitely affects younger queer Black children because we don't have those
outlets.
Yeah, those outlets to talk about it, and not many people want to talk about it. It's uncomfortable to them, especially if they haven't experienced it. And I often find myself having to explain to other people what that experience is like. So it's hard to really get help on something that other people don't necessarily understand. So I definitely think it affects everyone differently, especially with race too. It takes a toll on you. It makes you feel a little lonely because you're put in this world that is like, it's just a little like, that's odd, that's weird. Let's not talk about that. And so you have to find ways to deal with it. And that's why I think a lot of young queer kids end up with suicide, and there's no support for it, honestly. Same thing with race. I think children of color don't have a lot of support when it comes to our issues and what we see on TV that's dealing with us and national lynchings, if we will.
Absolutely.
So I think it's a lot to handle at the end of the day, and it does affect mental health differently for those people.
Absolutely, absolutely. Ms. Farraker, I want to go back to you. When we first watched the package, we were all very touched with your personal story that you shared of your daughter, and we're very sorry to hear that. So can you speak to how that experience kind of impacts you now and how that goes into your work and how that motivates you every day in the NAMI organization?
Well, before my daughter passed away, I didn't really know that much about mental health. I wasn't with NAMI or anything like that, but when she passed away, my desire was to help other kids, to keep other kids from going through what she went through. Absolutely. And to get rid of the stigma. That's what a lot of it is. A lot of young adults keep everything inside. They're really good at suppressing how they feel and stuff, and keep it inside because they're fearful of telling anybody. And once you start reaching out, you realize there's a ton of people that have the same problems that you have. And so that's what got me involved in NAMI, is I stepped in because I wanted to be able to help others. And so I started taking some of the educational programs that we offer and learning about it and stuff. And that's just been my goal. I've always said if something bad happens to me, if I can use it to help others, then it's okay.
Absolutely.
It's worth it.
Absolutely.
Or not worth it, but you know what I mean.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the NAMI organization for those who might not be familiar?
NAMI is the National Alliance on Mental Illness, and we have different affiliates throughout every state, but it is the largest grassroots organization on mental health, and we offer education for family members and people with mental health. All of it's free, and we do support groups also. We have a family support group that supports the family members or caretakers of someone with mental health, and then we have a support group for people with mental health to get together and talk. And everything is peer-led by people who've experienced those same things, and so they're able to relate to each other and stuff.
Absolutely, a very good resource to have for students. And Lieutenant Todd, I want to come back to you. As students, we know how much mental health support is provided to us, right, in terms of ASU counseling centers, and the counselor spoke about what resources we can access. I want to know for you as a faculty member and as a lieutenant here on this campus, how much mental health support do you feel is provided to you?
It's the same way as the kids, maybe even more, because we do have the support of the counseling center. And if we don't feel comfortable with going to the University Counseling Center, then we have also outside resources that we can go to as well.
Absolutely, that's great, that's great. So Olivia, coming to you, right? Recently, there's been so much news about violence happening on campuses, not just HBCU, but otherwise, right? So how safe do you feel right now, mentally, physically, on this campus? Can you speak to that?
Mentally safe, I don't know. I think counseling needs to be talked about more and how we can access it. I know we might get emails here and there, but I definitely think it's something that needs to be provided more, and not necessarily in just maybe going into an office, but I know we recently just got those pods.
Right.
And we haven't really heard anything about it lately, and I think that would be something that would help a lot of, I know right now it's for it's presented as, I think, girls, like it's
She care, right.
Yeah. But I think it would be nice to really have something for the men on campus too. And safety wise, when it comes to like literally, okay. Well,
this is a safe space.
Yeah. Okay, good. Because I'm gonna be honest. Sometimes it does feel a little unsafe because people, especially at night, who do not go here are allowed on campus.
Okay.
I think it should be something along the lines of, as a student, I think we hear a little bit more about what's going on because we talk.
Right.
And people who are not supposed to be on this campus are being let on this campus after hours of when campus is supposed to be closed. So I think that in that aspect, I know personally my dorm is very strict on that, but I know other dorms are not. And I think that's really dangerous, personally. I do think there could be more ways to find a balance between finding safety for us and then finding a balance of students wanting to have a little bit more freedom with visitation.
Absolutely.
Yeah, me personally, for the most part in my dorm, I feel safe, but that's because we're strict. In other dorms, I don't know because they're not, especially
not as strict.
Yeah, they're not as strict, and I think also there is things around campus of how I know like people get onto campus without going through the gate. Like that's also dangerous. Like you know what I mean.
Thank you for sharing that perspective, Officer Charlie. I want to come back to you really quickly because speaking about that balance, it's not just about student safety. Recently at UNC Chapel Hill, we saw a situation with a faculty member who was affected by that violence. So how safe do you feel currently on this HBCU campus?
And I'm not just saying it because I work here, but I do feel pretty safe because our officers, along with myself, is very highly trained in dealing with different situations. And to kind of piggyback on her, the most important thing that we have to do as a community, a campus community, if you see something, say something. Report that. We have an app that we have now called Live Safe.
Absolutely.
You can remain anonymous, just type in or email us exactly what it is and the officer will respond back immediately. The resources are out there. I just think some students are not utilizing those resources.
Absolutely.
And they're not speaking up until they become a victim.
That's very important.
Yeah, so I just want to put that out, and I appreciate your honesty. But we as a department, we try to do everything in our power to keep you guys safe. Now, if they park their cars across the street, across from Harris Way, we have no control of that because we have officers constantly patrolling the campus. However, again, if you see a student or alleged student that you know for a fact don't go here, because they're going to give that away at some point. You're going to know that they don't go here. Let us know.
Absolutely.
And we'll check it out.
Absolutely. And Ms. Farrakhan, I want to end with you. Can you please let us know how we can reach out to you and the NAMI organization?
Yeah, I wanted to also say we do have a thing called NAMI on campus. It's a club for colleges, and I believe ASU used to have one here. They don't anymore, but Auburn Montgomery campus has it, and it's a mental health club for college students. They get educated on mental health and being able to help others when they get to do the support groups and everything like that here on campus.
Absolutely.
So, and the best way to get hold of me is through our website, which is namimontgomery.org.
Thank you so much, all of you, for being here today. So much good information. We have Live Safe, we have NAMI on campus, so reach out. We want to thank all of today's guests, and we hope that these conversations can be a catalyst for you to explore these issues with your friends and loved ones. And next, here at Alabama State University, several students gathered to let us know the true meaning behind where history is made.
It's bittersweet. It's something that we've been talking about for a long time. I knew this chapter would come, but I'm proud. It's an emotional time, but I'm very proud. You okay? No, I'm not. You sure? I'm sure. No.
My major is in business administration. I'm excited to see what Alabama State can offer me and what I can also offer Alabama State. I'm excited for my new journey, and I'm ready to see what comes with this new experience.
I'm probably going to be a future history maker because I have big aspirations. I'm very ambitious, and I plan to really make my mark on this campus.
Become a history maker today.
Visit www.alasu.edu.
This is where history is made. So I'm currently majoring in psychology, minoring in chemistry. I have hopes of going into the medical field of being an adolescent and child psychiatrist. So as an African American, I know the struggles, the experiences we have, the many adversities we run into in our daily life. And mental health has been a field which has kind of been blinded to the African American community. So I want to see how these effects of trauma still affects us today and how it is holding us back to reach our fullest potential. So I feel that the African American community needs somebody that can connect with them, someone they trust, because many times in the past, we've been blindsided to experiments such as the Tuskegee experiment with syphilis, and seeing myself in the shoes of these researchers and being able to connect with my people, therefore we can get a better understanding of the trauma and different things we deal with on a daily basis. So with me being a chemistry minor, so math, throughout my life, math has been like a hard subject for me. So with me wanting to go into the medical field, I know that I have to go to med school, I know I have to take a lot of science courses, which involves math. So just me not being discouraged by, a problem getting too hard or me not understanding something and really focusing on the bigger picture. Because once I get through my career and once I have my degree, my MD, I'll be able to help the people that I want to help, which is the younger generation. So not focusing on maybe the trials and things that are going too hard for me in the present time, but focusing on what it will do in the future and the impact it will have on many individuals. With all hearts, minds, and stomachs full, this has been your monthly serving of the Intellectual Soul Food Lunch Buffet with me, Tamia Jacobs. Until next time, take care of yourself and one another.